Hollywood is freaking out at the idea of Paramount Skydance buying CNN. But even the skeptics among us must be thinking the end is near. For Dana Bash took on RFK Jr. following the Fauci diary leaks. And let's just say something reeks at CNN. Video on the way. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Monday midday. It's another video for you, and we've got Lauren Connor with us yet again. Lauren, it's a double dose of you today. Welcome back, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. Happy to be here again.
Now, folks, we need you to hit that like button. The reason Lauren is here is because we were talking about, after we did this Spider-Man video this morning, we were talking about what I was going to be covering later in the day, and I said, you know what, Lauren, actually, I'd love to have you join us to talk about this deal on CNN. For those of you who don't know, Paramount Skydance is working very hard to buy CNN. It's part of the Warner Brothers purchase. And a few places like California are working overtime to try to stop that. It's not going to work, but they're trying. And Lauren, after these videos we're about to show, I think people will see why California feels so inclined to try to stop CNN from going to anybody else.
I think that's a fair statement. Yep.
Folks, let's get to it. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about RFK Jr. stopping by with Dana Bash on CNN. We're going to play two clips for you and weigh in on just how badly this went. And as we do this, what I want you to consider is, once CNN is purchased by Paramount Skydance, once it's bundled together with Warner Brothers, once Paramount Skydance has it, once the Ellisons, once Barry Weiss has hold of this thing, Dana Bash is done. I mean, she's done in these clips too, but she's done like this woman is not prepared. She's not competent. She can't handle her emotions. She is clearly unhinged, and this cannot be winning for CNN. Why? Because it's not even good television. Let's watch some of it. They will weigh in and tell you what's going on here, folks. 3, 2, 1. Here's Dana Bash with RFK.
But I also don't want to use this interview to allow you to say things that aren't entirely true. You're talking.
Pause, folks.
That's our department.
That's what I was. But people say things that are untrue all the time on cable news. If you don't like it, you disagree and let them give a follow-up answer. But you're not the police. You're not the thought police. You don't get to say, well, that's untrue and I'm going to hold you to it, because like you give people a chance to say what they think. You do a skeptical follow-up question, et cetera, et cetera.
Talking about therapeutics, fine. It is also factually true that the COVID vaccine worked. The COVID vaccine prevented deaths. There is data upon data upon data. Let's talk about the measles, please, because this is something that is happening as we speak. The cases in the U.S.
vaccine protected children.
I think that what I have talked to scientists and doctors about.
Scientists. Can you show me one study?
Yes, I can.
That shows that
I can.
Children were protected by the COVID vaccine.
I can tell you that there
vaccine did more good than harm to children. Can you show me one study that shows that?
Now, folks, we're not going to get into that debate. I know many people would like for us to get in that debate. I think after the Fauci diaries, I think if you saw them, you saw them, okay? But Lauren, what I want to point out here in terms of how bad CNN is, Lauren, she's fumbling in these blue papers trying to find. In fact, we'll do a little quick replay of that. I'll back it up and turn the audio off. She's trying to find. She's pretending that these studies are in these blue papers. You can see the blue papers with the angle. There are no studies in these blue papers. These are the notes that she's supposed to be saying. She is so uncomfortable and so incorrect and so unavailable to understand what she should say next, that she's looking down at these blue papers for help. There's no help to be given. This is the state of CNN, Lauren.
Yeah, there were a couple of things that came to mind when I watched this segment this morning. First is she's not acting as an interviewer. She's acting as a debater, and that's not her job here. She's not to be debating RFK Jr. She's supposed to be asking him and getting him on the record on what he's doing, what he believes, and if they want to, they can have another expert on there to rebut him. But she is acting as a de facto expert based on what she has heard, which is RFK makes an excellent point that she is not involved in medicine. She's not an expert. She's not a scientist. If you watch more of this clip, she makes a claim that he is not either. But again, that's her debating him. That's not what she's supposed to be doing. The other thing that came to mind while I was watching this is this reminds me of something. And I don't know if you have ever seen a drunk with power elementary school teacher, But that is the vibe that I got off of this interview from her. She feels that this is her forum, this is her venue, she controls it. She is upset about the fact that she's not getting the answer that she wants. And part of the reason that that may be the case when you think about these kind of things is that I would be asking, if I were RFK, who pays for the majority of the advertising on CNN? I'm willing to bet that it's an awful lot of pharmaceutical companies, and so she's trying to appease her corporate masters here by making sure that they don't offend the advertisers. She has to act as a blocker on what he is saying because what he's saying threatens their potential profits.
Well, I would say too, Lauren, she is clearly emotionally insulted, and I'll tell you why. So, I'm not a body language expert. We can get people in that are, but I did take some psychology classes, and I can tell you that if you look at her facial expression, and this is held, and folks, you'll see it through the rest of the interview. So I'm not cherry picking a frame. She lowers her bottom lip and exposes her bottom teeth at the same time that she extends up her eyebrows. That tends to mean extreme disdain and aggression. Like, she's actually showing her teeth in a primal way when she's talking to him, because she really is angry at him. And if you look at this, folks, now you can see that he doesn't look happy, but his chin is up. And at the same time that his chin is up, the corners of his mouth are not drooped down. They're up slightly. And what that tends to mean is when you lift your chin up in a conversation, you kind of tilt a little bit. It means you think you're like actually with your head taking the high ground, because you feel like I've got this. Like, there's a confidence that's coming from him, and there is a rage that is coming from her. Like, it doesn't matter where I click, folks. It's the same look. And she's either doing this or she's down in the papers. And the bottom, listen, we're not the referees of this. We're not here to score this thing. Just telling you, this is why Hollywood, this is why California, this is why Gavin Newsom, they're panicked at the idea of CNN going to the Ellisons. Because people like Dana Bash are done. They're done at that point. Lauren, a little more.
Vaccine disinformation, there could have been 100 to 200,000 lives in the U.S. saved. But because people didn't get the vaccine, that's why. I'm not saying that it entirely.
You are saying nonsense. You are saying something
there.
You
see that?
Show me.
Okay.
Tell me, Lauren, what?
Did you see the way she
what
threw
a frame! Oh my gosh, this woman is great. Okay, go ahead, Lauren.
Did you see the way that she threw her head when he said, "You're speaking nonsense"?
Hang on, let's play it again.
Catch her expression?
Letly do it.
I'm not saying that it entirely.
You are saying nonsense. You are saying something.
Oh, you're right.
Not show me a single.
I am not saying nonsense.
That to me is the biggest indicator here. This is when she is fully invested and taking everything that he is saying personally. And what I'm saying here again is that it's fine that she questioned him on whatever that she wants to question him on. Our officials should be held to account for what they're putting out publicly and what they believe. But you do that by asking questions. You can do gentle pushback and give them an opportunity to respond to that pushback. But once you've tried that one or two times, you let the point go and move on to your next question. What she is trying to do is control what he is allowed to say. And if that's what you're doing, what was the point of bringing him on for the interview in the first place? I think that this is a case where she is deeply offended by what he is saying because of her own personal beliefs. She has a vested interest in trying to make sure that he doesn't say what he's going to say. But most of all, she's just taken this personally, and it's now become a personal fight between them. This is bad television for all of those reasons.
And Lauren, the entire mainstream dinosaur going extinct media, they are humiliated by the Fauci diary, which, by the way, that goober, the world's most foremost doctor, the science, that goober wrote his diary on a government computer and emailed it to himself on the last day, meaning that the government got access to all of his middle school girl diary stuff about, oh, Halle Berry loves me. Oh, I'm just so excited because Celine Dion might sing a song about me. Like, it's just so silly, right? Let's go to another clip. But I think that's part of it, too, is they are absolutely humiliated right now. The public opinion has shifted so harshly against them. And this again, goes into why they're trying to stop Paramount Skydance from buying Warner Brothers CNN. They're terrified of this. More.
We need to protect our constitutional rights. That is the primary obligation.
What does that mean?
Country. Well, during COVID, we completely dismantled our constitutional rights. We began censoring people in violation
Okay, but
of the First Amendment.
but I'm not, you're saying what not to do. I'm asking what to do. But I want to talk about.
That's something to do. That is the number one priority. We protect the Constitution. The Constitution was written.
Forgive me, but you're talking about rights, and I'm asking about a potential public health crisis that is coming. But I do want to.
Lauren, is this Dr. Doom here? What's coming, Lauren? What do we not know about?
She's just trying to take command of the conversation. You know, she's trying to end his point. She doesn't like them. She's trying to redirect to go in a direction that she thinks is favorable to her talking points, which she's not really supposed to have. It's just an embarrassing performance all up and down. And I think a lot of this is that you were talking about it in the last segment, that Dr. Fauci's diary. For a man who is supposedly so brilliant, he could sure be dumb at times. And it's not the first time either. As we mentioned before, he had issues during the AIDS crisis as well. This is a man whose hubris and whose utter self-regard blinds him to just how dumb his own actions can be. He thinks that he is so brilliant and yet makes these. Imagine where we'd be today if that diary had not been found and presented to the public as evidence.
And by found, you mean he emailed it from his government computer where he built it. Instead of actually trying to stop disease, he was sitting there typing his little diary on his government computer.
Yep. And I think they have badly misjudged. I think there was a portion of his supporters that thought that him sitting there in the hearing pleading the fifth was going to go well. They thought that this was potentially going to make him appear to be solid and resolute and opposing what they would term as a witch hunt. But it doesn't look that way. One, because in that context, he didn't have a Fifth Amendment to invoke because he had been given a pardon for the period that was mentioned. Also, he somewhat jeopardized it himself by making an opening statement and by invoking the fifth to every question. You're only supposed to be able to invoke that in areas where you could potentially be criminally liable for something. So now he's going to be up for this potential contempt charge. I think it's important that that be pursued and taken seriously. This is a man who did grievous damage to trust in our governmental and medical institutions. And that's why in that measles conversation that she brings up, she's wanting to bring up, well, now there's all these people that are skeptical of vaccines. Well, why might that be, Dana? Is there a potential causal reason for that may involve all of these things that RFK is talking about? But that's not what the media wants to portray. That's why all of the interesting discussion that is going on now is in this space on YouTube amongst the commentary class and not in the legacy media.
Well, let me ask you about that, Lauren. In your opinion, did Fauci do more damage to the credibility of the mainstream media than TDS? Because I'm starting to think that maybe this is the real turning point where people, because I think when people watched him get up there and plead the fifth over and over on ludicrous stuff, even after he's had a pardon, I don't think that played well with the average public. Like I think people are misunderstanding just how nauseating that was to so many out there. So I wonder, is that part of the panic right now with some of these cable news outlets?
Yes, for two reasons. Fauci, if he were an honest broker, would be interested in defending his position. Instead, he's trying to claim moral outrage and claiming that this is a witch hunt that's being launched by Rand Paul, and that's why he's not going to answer questions. But the real reason is he understands there is a real potential risk of contradicting something that he previously said under oath that could leave him criminally liable. So he's trying to protect his own skin. If he were really interested in getting the truth out and allaying the concerns of the American public, even at risk to his own skin, he would be getting up there and explaining why the decisions that he made were made, explaining that to the public, acknowledging that there may have been mistakes, and that he has an interest in getting to the truth. All he has an interest in is saving his own skin. Now, back to the media versus TDS thing and whether this did more damage, I think it certainly did more damage because, as RFK was pointing out there, whether you were left or right, you were impacted by all of the policies that Fauci advocated for. You had to be quarantined in your home much of the time. You couldn't go to public events. You couldn't attend your church. You couldn't be in a public park. You had social distancing and mask wearing and not being able to see your loved ones who were potentially impacted in the hospital or dying. All of those were a real and tangible effect. When it comes to TDS, there is a political effect of being opposed to the current administration, but there's not necessarily a tangible physical effect, and certainly not one that's years long. So everybody got to feel the effects of Fauci's policies. That's different than holding a political opinion.
And the diary did them in, Lauren, because up until the diary was found on the government computer and in the email, like it's all owned by the government because of where he put it and where he made it. Up until then, he had a defense. Once the diary was found, it was like, oh wait, you were writing what we all suspected the entire time, and then lying and saying something else, and you were hiding that you were having adverse reactions to. Anyway, not that kind of channel, but it is destroying the credibility of cable. We'll play the last half of this, give our final thoughts on where this goes in terms of CNN and what's going to happen when, because it's going to happen. Paramount Skydance takes over. Here's the last half.
And one of the mistakes we made in the last time was suppressing those rights so people weren't being heard. The doctors who were saying you're doing it wrong were being marginalized and vilified.
Yeah,
and
because again, I really want to move on, but
yeah,
you were saying yes, I
were
do.
part of the problem.
No, I wasn't part of the problem.
There was absolute press malpractice. You weren't allowing
Mr. Secretary,
your job is a furious skepticism toward authority. And
yes,
you weren't doing that. You were beating up
My job
on
is
people
also
who were dissenting.
No. Okay, you want to sit here and attack me, or do you want to have conversations about public health? I'm not attacking you. I'm asking questions about how to prevent the next pandemic.
Question, and I'll tell you.
That's what I'm trying to do.
You remember the school teacher vibe I was talking about?
Woof. Yes, I do. Lauren, I think CNN is about to be transformed. I think it's for the better. I'm going to be honest. I mean, we sat here and watched it. That's not great TV. And the reason it's not great TV is because RFK is so much better prepared. And after seeing the diaries, I mean, we know who got this one. And it's not an even fight there.
The purpose of the news is to inform, not to inflame. And all they've been interested in doing is inflaming. When they get interested in actually chasing down the facts wherever they lead, regardless of whether that's to their preferred outcome, people will begin trusting them again. But until they get there, they've ceded that space, and they're going to pay for it dearly.
New media has won. Lauren, I'm not holding my breath for them to discover a new Leering Center somewhere.
No, not anytime soon, but that all depends on how long it takes them to collapse. If they continue trying to trudge down this road, consequences will be felt.
Who knows? Maybe the leering is happening right now on CNN. All right, folks, it's your turn. Click that like button, share, subscribe. And folks, we'd love to hear your thoughts, so comment down below. Until the next time, keep learning or leering. Keep growing, not rowing, and keep having fun.